some really solid wins the last couple of them. In different ways as well. CBU, you guys started red hot, and they were able to hold on at the end, whereas Southern Utah got off to a slow start, but then really heated up and found your kind of your way. Just talk about the wins and the different styles that came with them.
Yeah, I think you face so many different styles of play in the WAC that you're going to find yourself winning in different ways. I'm about to start coughing. Let me see if. Okay.
All right, let's try to win.
Yeah.
A couple good
Yeah.
wins, different styles. Talk about how good it is to see your team win in different kinds of ways.
In the WAC, we have so many different styles of play that we face that you find yourself winning in different ways. Saturday we didn't have a very good first quarter. I thought our defensive intensity was not where it needed to be, and then really credit our starters for the way they started the second quarter, and then we came out of the locker room at halftime, just really ready to get down and play defense. I felt like defense turned into early offense for us a lot in that second and third quarter.
And with that win at home, it's going to be 10-0. It's the first time at home, at least at Moody. That's the first time that's happened in a decade. Talk about why your girls are so good at home this season.
I think our players are really taking advantage of the, being at home, that home court advantage, making the most of their opportunities to play in the facility where we work out every day. You think you should be hitting your shots well in the gym where you do shooting drills, every single day. I would like to credit our fan base. We have an incredible group of parents, family members, close friends of our players that, they are at every single game, and we really appreciate that support. They follow us on the road as well. But at home, it's like almost every player has family members that come to the games. And so we have a really good group of folks that are really invested in our program, as well as like our season ticket holders, those the fearless fans that come out, whether the weather's good outside or whether it's a midweek game or a Saturday afternoon game. And so really want to, appreciate the fan support that we have at home as well. I think that our players use that energy from the crowd for sure.
And anytime you don't have a potential all-conference player on the court with Meredith, with that situation, it's tough. But just talk about Erin Woodson and her presence and how much she's really taken a step up into that bigger role and how she's shined there.
Yeah, I think, when you have a consistent scoring threat like Meredith Mays that's out right now, you got to have some other players step up. And Erin Woodson she's the most consistent player on our team. From, the games early in November until now, just brings consistent effort, is a consistent scoring threat. And that's what we see from her in practice every day. We talk a lot about, we have to practice the way we want to play the games, and Erin for sure exudes that. You know what to expect from her every day in practice, and that's really paying off for her in the games.
And looking ahead, Tarleton's next. Talk about how playing a team you've already beat can help you prepare that way, or is it, hey, new game, new matchup, new everything, even though we played them a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago that we played them. And it's weird, too, that we've already played them at home, and now we're going to play them at home again. So, anyway, kind of an interesting schedule, exciting schedule this year. But, yeah, you take from your previous experience against an opponent, you take what you did well against them, you take what maybe you didn't do so well, and, make some adjustments. So we will study a lot of that film, as well as the games they've played since we played them, to see if they've made some adjustments. So we're expecting a hard-fought battle. That's what we get every time we play Tarleton. So, it'll be a great battle here on Saturday.
And last one, another long break for you guys. It's a week between games. talk about how hard it is to keep your girls focused, or is that even a problem? And then when you're playing well like you guys are, do you not want to take these breaks?
I think the bye fell at a perfect time for us. We actually don't get to enjoy the first bye because it was like that December 29th or whatever. We played a non-conference game. So this is really the first true bye in our schedule, and I think it's fallen at a good time. We've already missed school, several days worth of school. Our players have some makeup work to do this week. And just an opportunity to kind of purge, the first third of the conference schedule, kind of purge those scouting reports and get ready to move on to some fresh scouting reports on the same opponents. But, we want to every week get a little bit better in certain, arenas on the court. And so, I think it really fell at a good time for us.
We talked last time how y'all are 10-0 at home for the first time since the 2015 to 16 season. Of course, being a coach of that team as well, do you notice any similarities between this year's squad and that one, whether it's kind of that veteran cast of juniors?
Yeah, that year we had a great group of juniors, kind of like this year. I think we have a very cohesive team this season, and the players are all like genuinely celebrating each other's success, and that's what I remember from that 15-16 squad. They celebrated one another. There were different players that stepped up every night. Lizzie and Susie Demba, Alexis Mason, Sydney Shelstead, they just, if one player wasn't having a great game, like there were other players that stepped up, and that's kind of what we're seeing with this team. And I think that everybody's working really hard in practice, and there are some similarities. I think that our defense is a lot better than it was in 2016. Two really good teams. I probably need to sit down and really look at some data and kind of see how similar these two teams really are.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
I'm going to make you feel Okay. Let's start with last week's games.
Yep.
A couple of tough losses. What are you contributing those to? Is it just kind of they're really good teams? I know. This is really good. Did you guys just kind of not have it?
Yeah, I was just kind of going through this with my staff. I think that look, we were playing really well, really good basketball. I really think all year. A couple of tough losses, whatever that comes with the season, right? And I thought coming back from UTA, the opening conference game, I really kind of put on myself, and that was more how we prepared. there's a lot of stuff I could go through, but I don't regret it. I was making decisions I thought were the right thing, but you live and learn, right? And so I kind of put that one on me, and then we played great the next couple games, and I thought UTA just beat us, man. I really didn't have a problem with how we played. I mean, we, didn't shoot the ball great or whatever, but I thought energy, effort was there. And then last week was a very different story. I think, to be real honest, I did not handle last week real well. I think that probably spread into our team a little bit. And, I felt like I was doing a good job of kind of pushing everything down. And last week was a long week, hard week, for a lot of different reasons. Not just the reason everybody thinks, but there was a lot of stuff going on. And it just, sometimes that happens, right? And I felt like I was doing a good job, but, looking back, I don't think I did. And so I think, I can squarely put a lot of that on me, right? And so I think that, moving forward, that won't be the problem, and so we're going to work through some things this week. I don't think we could have gotten a bye week at a better time. And so, the good thing is, okay, we were sitting there 2-1, feeling pretty good about ourselves. And now here we are not feeling very good about ourselves. But it's almost like we haven't started yet. You know what I'm saying? We get to play everybody twice. Now in a weird way, we still have to go to a couple places twice. But a couple people have to come here twice still. So I think, look, it's a 3-game series. We blew last week. And again, that's not to take anything away from Cal Baptist or Southern Utah. I think both of those teams are very tough matchups for us, size-wise at the forward spot, at the 3-4. And so we've got to figure out ways to be more successful offensively the next time we play them. But that's all we can do now is get better from it. We can't sit here and make excuses. I want to own the way that I handled last week. I think it's okay to do that publicly. But because I think I could have gotten these players more ready, I guess you could say. But all we can do now is get better from it and move forward.
And just building off that a little bit, without necessarily getting into it, distractions were a big thing last week. There's a lot going on. Talk about the challenges to try to avoid those distractions and how you guys were trying to just focus on basketball on the court.
Yeah, Thursday was really hard because, I had to meet with my team and I had to do some things that had nothing to do with this group or this team or that game that we had to play that night. And so it was very difficult, but that's why I'm here, right? That's part of my job. It's not just supposed to be when everything's all good, right, and everything's going your way. But, yeah, it's difficult. But, look, I've been doing this for 26 years, 13 of it here, and so – or 27, heck, it's so long I can't remember. But it's not like this is my first time to have to go through some sort of distraction in the middle of a season. And one of the things that we have been really good at in my career is that we bounce back really well. You know what I mean? And we find ways to motivate ourselves and get back on the horse, right? And so I have no doubt we're going to do that again. This was one of the toughest weeks probably of my career. And so it was new. It wasn't like any of the other things I've had to work through before. And so, it is what it is, man. We've got to get better. And again, nothing, we had some things going on with this team last week. Again, nothing negative or terrible. Nobody's in trouble or anything, but we got to focus on the problems or the struggles that this team is facing, not anything else.
Build off that, and then we'll move on. But
yeah,
you had a really strong relationship with Arian. It wasn't a secret. You guys were really close. So talk about how are you doing with everything? I know you care about him. You said that very publicly.
Yeah.
And talk about how being around this team has kind of helped you and helped you deal with the things.
Yeah, obviously, not going to get into the details of the situation. I think the schools put a statement out, and I think that they did a really good job of putting that statement together, and it's very accurate, right? But with the player in question, it was somebody that I cared a lot about, and it doesn't mean that I don't care about him still. That's we love our kids, right? And they make plenty of mistakes, and so, but hurt was the term, I think. is the best term to use, and I don't mind saying that publicly. I don't, I think it's important to talk about it, to get it out there. And this team has been very supportive, with me. And really, honestly, I've leaned a lot on former players. It's pretty special to me, the phone calls that I've received, in the last, 4 or 5 days, from people who played here in the past, and to support this program, because they know that this program is not represented in that action. And they know the principles and the standards that we try to uphold here and what we're about. And that doesn't mean that we're perfect. Mistakes happen. But I think I needed that reminder. I got one this morning, and one that punched me right in the face pretty much about, get back on the horse and stop crying about it, right? And so, that's probably the thing that's helped me the most, is the current team, of course, and then the calls from the former players that have been a part of this program for a long time, and some that didn't even play for me here, just in support. So it makes me feel like, we do things the right way. Sometimes things just happen.
Going to build off of that a little bit. Usually coaches are the ones that are having to offer that support and be that kind of rock for players. So talk about how special that is, that now it's kind of the flip side, that not only your current but former players are now being your rock.
Yeah, I think that's what this is all about. I think that gets lost a little bit in today's world and in today's world of college sports. But it's all about the relationships, man. And that doesn't change. You know what I mean? And sometimes in relationships, people let you down, right? But again, that doesn't mean you stop caring about them, you stop praying for them. I'm still doing all of that. But to have relationships, it does. It re-energizes you a little bit. It makes you feel like, or it confirms that what you try to do, and what you try to instill in these young men is the right thing, and that it has made an impact, and I got into this a long time ago to be a high school coach, and I had an unbelievable high school coach, multiple ones, my entire high school staff. It means a great deal to me, and that's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to impact kids, and my journey just took me here, and goals change, of course, and as you start going through your career, but nothing that hasn't changed. I still want to impact lives, and so that's the biggest thing for me. Those calls that I've received and the players reaching out just confirms that, man, we still have those relationships and we're doing things the right way.
All right, let's talk about some basketball now.
Yeah.
Rich Smith.
Yeah.
Had a huge offensive explosion against ZVU, and you talked about wanting to score more points before the season even starts. Talk about how exciting it is to see that kind of performance from one of your key players. Yeah,
I'm really proud of Rich, man, because I think that, lately he's been scoring, right? But he's doing whatever we need that night. It's not like, well, he's just become a scorer all of a sudden, right? There's been a couple games where he hasn't scored a bunch, but he's done other things to impact winning. And the one thing I think that Rich is doing this year is he's impacting winning. And he still was doing it the other night. We didn't play great this weekend. I thought, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today in film that Rich could get better at, but I do think the energy and the effort is there, and the mindset is there. Like, the mistakes that Rich or a couple of these guys are making are just mistakes. That's all they are. They're making mistakes, still trying to do the right thing, and that's all you can ask for, right? Some nights you have it, some nights you don't. So super proud of Rich, man, but not just Rich, a lot of others. Guys that are, Yanni's coming back from an injury, and he's having to play a little bit different than he was playing before. And that's not going to last long, I don't think, but he's doing that, and he's trying to do what we need him to do to win. I think Kate Hornecker has really stepped up and doing great things for us. And again, not overdoing it, trying to impact winning in a positive way. And so as bad as we played last week, there's a lot of good things that we can lean on, I think, to get this train back on the tracks.
And you mentioned a little bit the bye week or break you guys have coming up this week. Just talk about how helpful that's going to be to not only get a mental but a physical reset as well after a couple of times.
For sure, man. Still trying to figure out how, every bye week is different, and, you always handle it different. What our off days are going to be. We'll take an extra off day in there somewhere this week that we normally wouldn't have. I don't know which day it's going to be yet. That will probably be determined by how they respond today. But what we do in our bye week, man, is we almost hit the reset button. And it kind of stinks this year because we had a bye to start the conference season. So that's one less bye that you kind of get to do that. But it is what it is. We have this one. We have one more. And so what we'll do this week is we'll go back to day one in practice. That's what we'll do today. It'll have nothing to do with our opponent on Saturday. We'll get back to our defensive principles, remind them of the things that we're starting to slack on and starting to lose some of the small details that help you win games. Today will be mostly defensive. Tomorrow will be mostly offensive. And then we'll start to, whatever day off we take, then we'll start to get back on track and focus on Tarleton.
And speaking of Tarleton, they're a tough test up next. We'll talk about how does playing a team that you've already played and you've already beat kind of help you prepare for them, or does it, especially since it's so close,
Yeah, I wish we were playing somebody that beat us, to be honest with you, because I think that's what we need. We need and look, these guys, make no mistake, our guys in our locker room know how good Tarleton is. They know what a challenge it's going to be. They know what kind of environment we're going to walk into. We got to play them the last time without the student body there. We have played there before with the student body there, and they will be there Saturday, and it's going to be a crazy environment, a really good team that is hungry as well. I would give them kind of the edge in terms of we beat them, right? And so they have that extra motivation. We have to match that, and so we don't have time to feel sorry for ourselves. We have to move forward. We have to go. I mean, it's crazy to think that their last home game was us, right? And so that's the craziness of this season. And so we've got to go in there again and try to figure out a way to do it again. And I think it's going to be very different than last game. And so we're going to have a totally different game plan than we had last time, and a totally different mindset, because I think we're going to get an even better Tarleton team Saturday than we got before.
I was going to ask you about the difference from Wisdom Gym to their new place.
Yeah.
But like you said, the environment will likely be much different than you faced.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that it would lose a little bit of its juice. Let's be honest, man. Like, as fantastic as Moody is, just Teague, because it was smaller and all that, the environment was different, right? And I was kind of hoping that would be the same over there. But I'll tell you what, when we were there before, even without the students, there was an energy in that building, and that was pretty cool. And of course, it helped that we won the game. But that was the one thing I said after the game was like to a couple people was like, man, you could feel the energy. And I think it wasn't really the facility. It was the two teams and the game and the way it was being played. It was just an awesome basketball game to be a part of, win or lose. Definitely better when you win. And I expect nothing different on Saturday.
You before last week where SIBO had to leave for personal reasons, you had started the same starting five for the first 4 games of conference. What have you found in that starting lineup that you like to go back to?
Well, I think there was a little bit of a cohesiveness there. I think they played it was a really good offensive team. You look at all the analytics and stuff. It's not our best defensive group, but it was our best offensive group. And I think we were finding a stride there, and we were good enough defensively. And then when I subbed from that group, and again, it wasn't just about those 5, it was about the other guys coming in. We kind of found a rhythm that we were playing really good offensively. We were creating some leads, and then I was coming in with guys who were maybe a little bit better on the defensive end. Not bad offensively, but we were having our better defensive group in there, and it was allowing us to kind of hold leads and do those things. And with SIBO gone, that did throw that a little out of whack, to be honest with you. And it's really not just SIBO. I think we were a little out of whack when we lost Yanni for a couple games. We're a group that kind of needs everybody, right? Because when we're all together, we're pretty good. And but SIBO should be back this weekend. We'll see. We don't know that 100%, but he should be. I would fully expect him to be there Saturday. But even he'd have to be back well before Saturday, obviously, to be able to play Saturday. But we fully expect that. We just don't have that answer yet.
You had a 3-game stretch where we played Tarleton, UTA, CBU, and each of those 3 teams, they only had one game that week.
Mm-hmm.
You were the only game they had to focus on for that week, and now you've only got one game this
Yeah.
week. I don't know anything about only having one game versus two in a week.
You know, I wasn't going to mention anything like that this year. I was going to do way better. We did get a couple home games, which was helpful this year, but it is funny how we kind of are the outlier, and we get everybody on their bye week. You know, we got 3 splits where others don't have that, but you know, it's part of the deal. You know, I think sometimes a bye week is good, sometimes it's not. There's been times where I've been like, man, we don't need a bye right now. We're rolling. Right now, I think we absolutely needed the bye. You know, so in this moment, I'm glad we have it. And again, it's a reset button, right? And it's not about like having extra days to prepare for your opponent. I don't think anybody prepares for somebody for a week straight. But what a bye week does is it allows you to get back to you, and you lose that a little bit during the course of a conference season because you're getting such a rhythm. And so a bye week allows you to kind of reset, refocus. Let's get back to our fundamentals, the small details that our program are about. And we haven't been able to do that for a while. And so that's what I'm looking forward to today. I'm not sure if the players are or not, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think today and tomorrow is going to be really good for our team.
I have one last thing.
Yeah.
Looking at Saturday, there's no secret that when you and Tarleton meet, it's going to get chippy. It's going to be physical.
Yeah.
It's already been. I mean, I think there were 2 technicals last game.
Yeah.
And a flagrant. You add the situation that happened, the information that came out. How important is it that not only on your side but their side as well, that you kind of keep it on basketball? Yeah,
there's no question. We're not dumb, right? We know that there's going to be some things in the crowd. There's going to be some signs up, and there's going to be all kinds of stuff. We've got to focus on what's going on. I hope there's no technicals and flagrants, of course. It does seem like these games because of the intensity. And I think that's not really the players. Sometimes I think that's the officials trying to make sure that they know what kind of game this is. They're trying to kind of make sure everything's under control. I don't like the double technical last time. I don't think either player should have gotten it, to be honest with you. That was just basketball that I've actually seen occur in almost every game since. But because it's that game, I think it's more just, hey, let's keep this thing under control, right? But you know, who knows? We've had 3 players ejected from a game in 13 years here, and all 3 have been in a Tarleton game at Tarleton. So you never know, man, right? Not here, by the way, at Tarleton. But look, man, I have a ton of respect for their program. I hope they have it for ours. I believe they do. And it's going to be a really quality basketball game, and that's where we need to keep our focus. Thanks, guys.